Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Kelleher, and I am CEO of a company called Cell Nutrition Sport. The company is called Cell Nutrition Sport because we have sports supplements that work at cellular level. I just feel so much pressure now after following the legend Craig Johnson, and next up is the Premiership. So, the best league in the world. So, thanks, SoccerX. I want to introduce my colleagues, Marie Farage, who is our Head of Nutrition. And I want to introduce Roger Meacock, who's our Head of Science. And the process we'll do today is we'll show you a video which goes into a lot of detail about our product. But before that, I'll just give you a kind of an overview. We approach hydration at a totally different way than anybody in the marketplace. As a matter of fact, it's 180 degrees different. We can make some powerful statements about our product, like it gives you complete hydration, it sustains focus, sustains stamina, it reduces muscle injuries and cramps, it minimizes fatigue, it strengthens immunity, and your recovery is absolutely incredible. And that's from our world champions and Olympic medalists who use it. And it's hard to believe that all comes from a little sachet like this. If we can run the video, it's about 8 or 9 minutes, and afterwards then we'll talk in more detail, and then we'll have question and answer.
Within certain areas of the oceans, there are natural rich blooms of plankton. Here, the synergistic effects of the various plankton concentrates and releases a nutrient-rich mix of bioactive materials, including at least 78 minerals and trace elements in a naturally balanced bioavailable form. These are harvested and cold microfiltered to produce the only natural mineral supplement in the world to fully nourish your cells. This product, certified by Informed Sport as safe for all athletes, is Totum Sport. This natural electrolyte supplement enhances the absorption and utilization of macronutrients and vitamins from your diet, releasing energy for performance as well as materials for physical repairs. It also plays a vital role in regulating cellular hydration and energy levels. Whilst it may not surprise evolutionary biologists, the remarkably close correlation between the mineral balance of seawater and that of human cellular fluids seems astonishing to most of us. However, this correlation has profound implications for the way that we nourish our cells and treat our bodies. Water is easily the largest component of your body, accounting for up to 70% of total body weight. It is vital for every function of the body, right down to the cellular level. Maximizing hydration supports strength, speed and stamina for muscles, as well as brain function for focus and overall performance. Supporting cerebrospinal fluid volume helps to physically cushion and protect the brain. Increasing dehydration leads to progressively more serious effects on the body. The most dangerous of these is loss of temperature control, which can lead to heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and collapse. Water losses of as little as 1% of total body weight causes a 5% loss in performance and can lead to a significant rise in core body temperature and increased strain on the cardiovascular system. Thirst does not start until the body is 2% dehydrated, by which time performance has already dropped 10%. As dehydration increases, there is a corresponding decrease in both aerobic endurance and muscle strength. By 3% dehydration, there is a marked reduction in fine motor control. And by 4%, cramps, fatigue, and reduced mental capacity become a serious problem. By 5% dehydration, severe exhaustion will stop most athletes. Pushing on beyond this level of dehydration is very dangerous. It can cause collapse, coma, or even death. Good nutrition, both pre- and post-exercise, is vital to optimize your workout and provide quick recovery. Professional sports nutritionists endeavor to optimize the exact proportion of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins for optimum performance for each sport. Whatever the diet, the body still needs the full set of minerals to optimally assimilate and utilize this food. Importantly, Totum Sport helps to regulate blood sugar levels derived from a good nutritional regime. Stored carbohydrates are released and broken down to provide energy during exercise. The electrolytes in Totum Sport aid the absorption and utilization of these carbohydrates into active cells and act as cofactors and catalysts in the metabolic pathways that release energy. Stabilizing blood sugar levels is vital to maintaining concentration, focus, and oxygen delivery to the muscles, nerve, and brain, which are frequently compromised near the end of training. Sugar-loaded energy drinks produce unwanted spikes in blood sugar levels and insulin, resulting in an even lower blood sugar, significantly adversely affecting performance, vision, and brain function. During exercise, muscles can become damaged, stimulating the body to build stronger muscles in recovery. The electrolytes provided in Totum enhance protein absorption that is used for this process. Athletes who are training hard suffer from delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, after training, and may also suffer from cramp during exercise. Cramp is a multifactorial phenomenon, but is accelerated by the build-up of lactic acid. Recent research has shown that Totum Sport can significantly delay the generation and build-up of lactic acid by 46% for the same degree of dehydration. This translates to maintaining strength and speed with stamina during performance and will help prevent cramp that predisposes to muscle injuries. The cell's DNA is made up of sequences of nucleotides in groupings that constitute our genes. These code for functional proteins crucial to life, which must replicate and function correctly, or else these essential proteins won't work as they should. When less than perfect, the cumulative effect of even minute cellular level changes on the whole body can compromise recovery, repair, and performance. Nutrigenics studies the effect of nutrition on DNA expression. It has been shown that as many as 64 minerals and trace elements are crucial for correct gene function. Consequently, it is vital that they are all replaced, not just the few most common ones. There are complex interactions between all the minerals required by your cells. It is important to understand that each element is reliant on others. Your body's cells need them all in the right proportions. Even apparently toxic elements such as arsenic, lead, and mercury are needed in tiny amounts to make your cells function correctly. The interdependency wheel clearly demonstrates the complex interactions between just a few of the common minerals required by your cells for a healthy body. For example, selenium, Se, is important for both your heart and muscle function, but it won't work correctly without lead, zinc, titanium, cadmium, magnesium, tin, manganese, silver, fluorine, copper, and iron. Iron, Fe, is vital for the transport of oxygen in blood and is required by many enzymes, but it won't work correctly without copper, manganese, magnesium, cadmium, zinc, lead, phosphorus, mercury, calcium, and chromium. Similarly, magnesium, Mg, is essential for nerve and muscle function and has an important role in preventing cramp, but it won't work correctly without its associated minerals. Manganese, Mn, is involved in energy metabolism, but it won't work correctly without the minerals that it is dependent upon. And zinc, Zn, supports immunity to resist colds and flu, etc., and the activity of over 100 enzymes, but it won't work correctly unless its associated minerals are present. Day to day, the levels of essential elements, minerals, and micronutrients in your body fluctuate. This is perfectly normal. Having understood the complex web of dependencies between the elements necessary for cell health, it may be thought that simply taking multi-mineral supplements will correct this. However, at a cellular level, the body requires minerals in a bioavailable. Research estimates that the human body has over 37 trillion cells. You need 78 minerals and trace elements to feed each of these cells. You need healthy cells to have a healthy body.
Okay. Thanks for watching that. You'll have seen there that we went into some incredible detail about Totum. It's very important that we go into that detail because there's very little known about exactly what's inside this and why your body needs up to 78 minerals and trace elements. Roger's going to talk in a moment about hydration and how it works and how this helps. And Mary will talk about the effects of proteins, carbs, and how this helps the absorption of proteins and carbs. But before that, I just want to tell you exactly where we get this and how it comes to be. The oceans are full of minerals. Every mineral that's on the periodic table is in the oceans. And all the minerals our body needs are in the oceans. But only in specific parts of the oceans can we actually use the minerals that are there because they're inorganic, they're not bioavailable. So in these parts of the oceans you have plankton. And by the way, plankton are responsible for 60% of the oxygen that we breathe. So without plankton, there'd be no life. But plankton eat minerals that are inorganic and non-bioavailable. And they actually put them through their digestive system. That's phytoplankton. And in turn, they're eaten by zooplankton. And then zooplankton excrete little bubbles of minerals. And that's exactly what's inside this. So it's pure natural. We don't add anything to it. We don't change the taste. We don't put sweeteners in. It's not a gel. It's not a powder. It's exactly what came out of the ocean. We harvest underneath the plankton blooms, so it's very sustainable. And we bring that harvest into a state-of-the-art laboratory in Spain, and we put it through a cold filtration to get rid of what shouldn't be there. It's then batch tested by Informed Sport, which makes it safe for every athlete to use. And then we package it in our lab. So the only thing that we do is we take out what shouldn't be there and we package it. Everything else is created by nature. So we take what nature's created and we put it into our bodies, what nature needs, and we let our bodies take care of the rest. So with no further ado, I'll pass over to Roger, who will talk more about the actual hydration and how important and how this works.
Thanks, John. We've had a little bit on the film about hydration, how important it is, and I really want to emphasize that hydration is probably one of the biggest areas of elite athlete sport, which obviously soccer comes into that at the highest levels. You're looking for marginal gains, and 1% difference in performance is huge. And remember that graph where we showed the decreasing performance with dehydration, and we said about when you only feel thirsty when you're 2% dehydrated and you've already lost 10% performance. Well, if you're 1% dehydrated, you don't feel thirsty. You aren't aware that you're 1% dehydrated, and you've already lost 5% in performance. 5% maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but when you understand that that's the difference between first place and last place in the Tour de France for the riders who finish it, that's the sort of difference that 5% performance can make. So hydration is probably an area where we don't look at it enough to understand how much of a difference it could make to the players that we've got in our teams. Now, hydration itself, there's various different levels of hydration within the body. There's a diagram there that showed different body compartments. Now, the biggest one was the intracellular component, which was 55% of all the water in the body is actually held within the cells. So when we're getting dehydrated, it's really important that we get the water back into the cells, because the water performs a very important function in the cells. So when we drink water, it gets absorbed from the digestive system into the blood circulation. But if we don't take it from the circulation into the cells, the kidneys start to realize that the blood has been diluted, and so the kidneys start functioning to actually get rid of that excess water, and it gets excreted into the bladder. So that water becomes unavailable. It's in the body, but it's not actually available in terms of doing what it needs to do within the body. So it's important that the water that we drink is pulled from the circulation into the cells. Now, the main trace elements and minerals in the body, the main electrolytes, are very carefully controlled across cell membranes in terms of their distribution. So it's actually the trace elements and minerals, when they go into the cells, they are what really pull the water into the cells, and this happens in a number of different ways. The trace elements, when they go into the cells, they change the configuration of proteins which are in the cytoplasm, and that makes the surface area a lot bigger. And when the surface area of the proteins is bigger, they can hold on to more water, and then that allows more water then to be pulled in through osmosis into the cells themselves. So water has a big function in the cells, because it's when it's in the cells, that's where the power is being generated, it's where heat is being generated, and so with water, as more water is in the cell, then that heat is being dissipated at source. So that stops overheating, which obviously can affect the cardiovascular effects and the collapse and the heat rise, which obviously can be quite important. So the trace elements help to change those protein structures to help to pull more water into the cells, and the water itself actually functions in terms of the energy production. And that's one of the reasons why we see 46% less lactate being developed when athletes are using Totum sport, because the water itself, the electrons get released when they become semi-structured and semi-crystalline in the cells, and that then gets fed into the ATP-ADP cycle, and that then means that less glucose has to be used for energy. So you're maintaining the blood glucose for the brain so that the vision doesn't come in. I mean, how many times have we seen a game of football in the last 5 to 10 minutes of a half, we see somebody who can normally hit a 60-yard pass and land it on a sixpence, and all of a sudden they can't even get it within 5 yards of a player. And the reason is they've lost the ability to judge depth of distance. They can't actually, they can see the person, but they can't judge how far it is in order to hit that pass. So in the last 5-10 minutes of a game, that's when a lot of mistakes are made, and it's the team that can keep that performance level going at the end, the same as when they start, is what's really going to make the difference. They're more likely to go on and win the match. So hydration and maintaining the blood sugar level all comes into that. I appreciate I went into a little bit of detail there, but if anybody's got any questions, then please feel free to ask. Okay.
Many professional players go to eat this optimum mineralization in the half a time in the football match.
Yep. Okay, so how are we taking Totum sport? So you take it for footballers, they'll be taking it before a match, probably just when they're starting to warm up before the first half. And that helps to then, if they drink water after that, then helps them to hold the water for the first half. And that's all they need to drink. They don't need to take any energy drinks. They just need to drink water to hydrate. And then if they take another one at half time, that will help to bring them back up again for the second half. And then if they take it then when they finish full time, that will help the body to hydrate and to recover as well. Because your game today is only as good as your recovery from the last session. So it's really important to get that recovery as good as you possibly can. So before, at half time, and after a match, and you'll get good performance throughout the game, and then recovery ready for the next game as well. Okay.
Could I make a point there, Roger? Okay. When we exercise and when we compete, our bodies lose 78 minerals and trace elements, not 2 or 3 or 4 as what is replaced but with the traditional supplements. And you talked about the start of the game. If you've ever watched a game and you'll see players before they start, they're drinking water. They're already dehydrated before the game starts. Now, if they cannot hold on to that water, they start 10% down. And that's not noticeable because most players start the same way. So you don't notice that they're dropped that level. If you take Totum sport, and we recommend Totum sport before the game starts, and then you drink your water, you're fully hydrated. So you're not starting 10% down. So that's an important issue. And the same thing at halftime when you start the second half. If you're fully hydrated, you start at 100% performance. Does the mic come in?
Repeat the question there so that everybody can hear. The question was, do you just take Totum Sport on match day, or do you take it in training and pre-season training as well? There are cumulative benefits to taking it on a daily basis. You will get progressively better hydration. Even when we're not training, you know, the days off training are as important as your training days. Your rest days are as important as your training days. So the more you can maximize that recovery and maintain your hydration, the better your recovery is going to be. So we recommend that you take it on your training days as well as your match days and for pre-season as well. The idea obviously is the more dehydrated you are, the more likely you are to have injuries, because you're more likely to have cramps, and those little muscle micro tears that you get during training aren't going to repair properly. So you're really trying to optimize your performance and get your repair as good as it possibly can be. So it's something I personally take it every day.
Thanks, Roger. Another important thing of athletes is after recovery is what they take, proteins, carbs, and so on, and how the body reacts to proteins and carbs. And Mary, our nutritionist, will explain to you how Totum would enhance the absorption of the benefits from proteins and carbs and fats.
I'm just going to sit down if that's okay, because I just feel more comfortable sitting down. So hi everyone, I'm Mary, I'm a nutritionist at Totum Sport. So obviously a lot of you know the importance of nutrition for performance and recovery. However, whenever you're telling athletes what to eat, it's not as simple as just being like, okay, you have to eat really healthily. Like, they aren't going to do that. So it's about getting the most out of their food. And as John was saying, whenever you take Totum Sport alongside a healthy diet, it will actually enhance the absorption of the nutrients. There is obviously scientific pathways into that, but I'm not going to bore you with that information. But it's basically that minerals and trace elements are required for proteins and carbohydrates to actually be broken down and generate that energy in the body. So when they're eating their food after their exercise, if they take a sachet of Totum beforehand, they're going to be able to absorb their proteins and carbohydrates better, and therefore they're going to be able to repair their glycogen stores, and their muscles are going to repair faster. So that's going to enhance the recovery and therefore also prevent the risk of cramp that you get from exercising, because your muscles are repairing quicker. And due to the poor food choices that a lot of athletes would make, especially when they're traveling, would be that they opt for foods that are often refined carbohydrates, and they're obviously going to have massive spikes in their blood glucose levels. So by taking Totum Sport, we actually had a study done that showed stabilization in blood glucose levels, which is really beneficial to athletes, because often what you'll find is they have that spike and they feel really energized, and then all of a sudden their energy levels like immediately drop and they get really tired. And if they're taking energy drinks, although they can be beneficial at times, it's the amount that they consume is obviously, a lot of the time it's too much, and that's why they get those spikes and the crashes. So by taking a small amount of what they actually need and then taking the Totum Sport alongside that will help them get a more stabilized energy so that they're stronger throughout play as well. So near the end of the play, they're still going to be as strong as they were at the start, as opposed to having that crash. Does anyone have any questions in relation to that, or in relation to nutrition? Does anyone have any problems that they currently see with players? Maybe like cramp? Anything? No?
Okay, I think it's time to wrap up, and thank you very much for coming in and listening to us. We believe passionately in our product, and that's not enough. Sometimes you've got to prove to people that it works. And we have many Olympians, world champions, elite sports players around the world who use Totum Sport. I can give you examples like Rafa Nadal, Rafa Nadal is not an ambassador. Rafa Nadal buys the product. He will go through 9, 10 sachets every time he plays a tennis match. He will top sports Spanish newspapers, and the headline was Rafa's Magic Potion. He takes it for recovery, he takes it for cramp, and he takes it for the nutrients. Just recently in the Commonwealth Games, we had 2 ambassadors who won gold medals. One of them is one of the fastest men in the world, Richard Kilty, who suffered incredible from cramp when he used to train. Cramp totally gone when he used Totum Sport. Amy Wilmot, a long-distance swimmer, she just won the gold medal in the Commonwealth Games. So there's many stories of many people who use Totum Sport. And the one thing I'll leave you with at the end, and you'll understand this if you take supplements. 2 people go into a supplement shop and buy the same supplement, and they take it for a month. You ask them at the end of the month how to do. One person says that was rubbish, one person says it was okay, and one person says it was brilliant. You get different stories. What we can guarantee you with this, every time you use it, regardless of your ability, regardless of your athleticism or your skill, it works. It works every single time, because it has every single element that your cell needs. And that's very, very important. So thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you.